Yo ho ho, me pipers, yo ho. Welcome back to Salt and Vinegar Sale, and you are in the Two Bones Tavern. So today, I want to start something fun. This is something I've been looking forward to for a really long time, and that is I want to talk about the GOP's Old London series. I've been collecting these over a little while. I actually started collecting them for another series that I wanted to do on Navy Flakes, which will kind of be interspersed in between this because a lot of these blends are traditional Navy Flakes. Some of them are a little untraditional, but that's a story for another day when we actually start talking about Navy Flakes. But today I want to dive into these. I have all of them here. You'll notice there's one conspicuously absent, and that is Penny Farthing, which I just don't think is in production anymore, and I'm not about to go down some eBay rabbit hole looking for it. I've heard it's really good, which is probably why it's gone. But if it ever pops back up, I will definitely get it because it's one I've been wanting for a really long time and I've heard such good things about. So, which one are we going to look at today? So I've smoked a few of these. I have not smoked all of them yet. I'm kind of holding off on the Navy Flakes until I'm ready to get into that whole deal. I've got those kind of centered over to this side and more of the Latakia heavy blends over here. So what do I want to talk about today? I thought I would dive right in. The easiest ones to jump into, I think, are Chelsea Morning, Meridian, and Quiet Nights, because they all have sort of traditional analogs that are out there that you can get. But one that didn't, and one that really struck my fancy for a couple reasons, was Lagonda. So this one really, of all of them, I mean, some of them I was really interested in, but the ratings for this one were through the roof on certain websites, and then on other websites, people were like, man, it's just fine. So I've been smoking this for a while. I've smoked it probably 3 or 4 times, at least 4 times. And I quite like it. We'll go into some reasons why I don't think it's a favorite and why I don't think I will buy another tin in a minute. Yeah, so Lagonda. This is one of the Old London series. It's GLPs. It is a blend, and it has a few, I think, really unique characteristics that set it apart from other traditional English blends. First of all, it's billed as a Balkan. That term always gets thrown out there, and I see it used in so many different ways. I think the history of it is it comes from the original Balkan Solbrani, which I have not had. I think I pronounced that correctly. I've not tried it. Of course, it doesn't exist anymore. There are other blends out there that try to mimic it, from other blenders. Some other things that I think are unique about this. So why I think they call it a Balkan is really because the Latakia and the Turkish play the front role, the leading role. Balkan is a region. That region produces tobaccos. Those tobaccos are Greece, Greek, Macedonian, Turkish, Syrian, Cyprus, anything over there in that area of the world. And those play the front role. Whereas I think, and if I understand this correctly, like a traditional English is a more balanced blend where the smoke, the Turkish, the burley, and whatever other components are in there, whether it be perique or burley, are all balanced fairly well. Whereas with the Balkan, it's, that rich Latakia heavy and the really spicy, wild, different flavors of small leaf Turkish and other things like that. Orientals. So, yeah, and that's no joke. This stuff is smoky. Right out the tin, the Lagonda. So let's talk about what a Lagonda is for a minute. Lagonda, it's a classic car. I really don't know a whole lot about them, but I do have a minor connection to them in a way. So I read a lot of Agatha Christie, and in a lot of the earlier books, and especially the short stories, Poirot, in the Poirot stories, Poirot's friend and comrade and compatriot throughout all of those adventures in the early books is Captain Hastings. And Captain Hastings is a gearhead, and anytime there's a car or a race, he has to comment on it. And there's so many times in the different books where he steps in and has to fix the car, and the car is the car they used to chase down the baddie and get him or whatever. But Captain Hastings drives a Lagonda. So I knew what a Lagonda was as soon as I saw this. I had a connection to it. I know what that is. So they're popular cars from the turn of the century. I think they were really hit their peak in the 30s. And I don't think they exist anymore. If they do, it's just a copyright or a trademark somebody's holding on to. Someday they might make a car and call it a Lagonda. But yeah, it's a classic car. Beautiful artwork. I love GLP's artwork, especially on these. You know, some of them are kind of boring and bland, but I think that's on purpose. But these I really like. So you get the car. The color combination is pretty cool. I really like that. Right off the bat, this is empty. There's nothing in here. So right off the bat, the tin note. Let's talk about that tin note. I mean, campfire. You get that deep, rich, smoky campfire right off the bat. I have the jar right here that I've been using. What I like to do when I open a tin, I don't know if you all do this, I like to take the ribbon off of here, the label, and just cut it on the side and then stick it on the inside so that I see it. I haven't done it yet because I wanted to talk with the tin, but there's a bunch of these that are empty. But yeah. Woo! Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool smell. It's invigorating, nice, rich, and smoky. You really just want a cup of coffee with this. But I don't know if it's just my brain and the way my brain works and the feeling that the name of this tobacco, you know, kind of brings into my mind. But I have a motorcycle. I love motorcycles. I've been riding motorcycles and own motorcycles. I've had many throughout the years. I started riding a motorcycle when I was 15 to school every day. I could, at least, because it snowed a lot. But, you know, I was that weird kid that had a motorcycle that he drove to school every day. When I was 15, because in Ohio, back then, you could get your driver's license for a motorcycle when you were 15. That's a fun story maybe for another day. But, yeah, it just evokes a garage to me. A garage, there's just petrol, oil, you know, for anybody who doesn't work on their own cars or have an old classic car or a motorcycle or something, that sort of the smell when you go to get your oil changed, I guess. Maybe my twang get my oil changed. Yeah, I don't think it really smells like that, but that's what it evokes in my brain. I smell that. I smell steel and iron and you know, smoke and burning gas and fuel. You know, that's petrol. That's just it just evokes that in me, and I like that. I like that about this. Yeah. So in terms of what the ingredients are, you can see the Turkish in the Latakia right away. But there is Virginia in there, and I believe, if I remember correctly, reading on the GLP's website, I think he specifically mentions bright Virginia. And if that's not in there, my brain is going crazy, because I definitely taste it, and I'll tell you later, I think it's one of the saving graces of this particular blend. If it's not there, then maybe my mind is just making it up and adding it in. But there's definitely Virginia. Oriental, which I'm assuming is Turkish because it has that sort of earthy, musty, perfumey, sort of incensey, but also sort of that barnyard kind of flavor that you know, high-end Turkishes tend to bring. And then there's obviously just a generous portion, a giant heaping of Latakia in there. Yeah, so I don't know. That's the smell it brings to my mind and my brain. The only story around that I kind of wanted to share, because I really have no other place to share this story, but my grandfather owned a 57 Bel Air Chevrolet when I was a child, and I just have really fond memories of him driving me around in that car. When he passed it on to my father. It's kind of a sad story that I won't go into here, but my father drove me to homecoming in that car, and it really made my day. It's something I'll never forget. Yeah, it's what it smells like. Leather, petrol, you know, a car before we had catalytic converters. You know that smell of a big V8 engine with no catalytic converter. That's a very specific smell. You know, and old cars like that too don't have covers or anything in the engine, so you're smelling everything from the cockpit. You can smell everything coming out of that engine, and this just evokes that in me, and I love it. So what is it like to actually smoke this stuff? We've talked about the smell. Let me pack it up before I dry it all out. So what does this taste like? honestly, you get that huge Latakia bomb at the beginning. I think, with a lot of these Latakia heavy blends, I smell it first, smell it in the tin, smell it when I'm packing it. I love it. I'm so ready for it. I light it up and you get that big perfume boost, poof of it right away when you first get that char light. And then afterwards, it kind of goes away. Your like olfactory system gets kind of used to it, and then the Turkish and the Virginia or whatever else is in that particular blend starts to come out. And I think that's really true of this. It does sort of sublimate really quickly, and from there, the Turkish kind of takes over. You really get a lot of that musty, perfumey, incensey. I said musk, but I also get like musk. I don't know, musk. Kind of the same thing. That barnyard flavor, and I quite like that flavor. I know I've talked in the past about Brothers in Arms, and I think that I like that taste, but I did not like it there. It was either too much or it just didn't fit with the rest of the ingredients. Here, it's perfect. I love it. It's out in front. There's nothing getting in the way of it. And everything else that's there, I feel like really complements it. So it has that going for it. The other thing, the last thing I want to talk about is the Virginia. So there's no perique, so you don't get that classic vapor, like honey bun, cinnamon bun, heavy molasses stewed fruit kind of thing you get with that combination. Rather, you get the Virginia, but there is what I believe is bright Virginia, and when that rears its head, it's the best part of this entire smoke. It cuts through that musty, woody, earthy, perfumey, incensey stuff, melds with the smoke, and it pops as this bright, citrusy, lemony burst of flavor that you get after your nose kind of adjusts to the smoke. And I think that's great. That is probably my favorite thing about this smoke and why I keep coming back to it, and probably why I won't get rid of this or toss it. I don't do that often. I try to at least get rid of it. It does slow down, how often I smoke, because I can only fit so many jars back here. Yeah, I think I will finish it. So if I had to say anything bad about this, and I will say something bad about this, and it is a big caveat to me, and I thought it was strange, I thought it was weird, so I went down the rabbit hole of tobacco reviews and on a couple other websites to see what folks were saying about it. It's the cut. And if you read what Pease has to say about this and what he was thinking, I think, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but he said, it's a unique cut. He knows it's a unique cut. He made it unique. He says he was even tempted to make all of the Old London, if not his entire product line, that aren't flakes or plugs, this cut. And then he says something like ... but I don't want the hate mail. And I think that was a good choice because, frankly, I do not like the cut of this. How would I describe it? It's somewhere between like a broken flake and a really heavy ribbon. Thick, like real thick cut ribbon, if you please. GLPs. That's the only way I can describe it. It's really thick. The first time I smoked it was a disaster. I didn't roll it, I just left it out because all of these GLPs blends, all of them are like really wet, wetter than average or on the wet side, I guess. So I let it dry about 5 minutes, packed it, and right away I could tell, I was like, this is not going to be good. Because when you pack it, it's like loose gravel because it's so thick. You pack it in, but you can tell there's lots of air bubbles. Like it just doesn't seal well. And that was my experience. So no matter what I did, I could not get a good draw on it. I just pack and pack and pack and pack and pack, and could not get a good draw on it. It was just airy and just was not a good experience. So the second time, rolled it out. And better, but still not a great experience. Third time was probably the best I was going to get. I just rubbed it out till it was almost a powder. Like I had like black powder on my hands after I rolled it out so much. I think maybe you could chop it, and you could almost chop this into a cube if you lined them all up and had the right chef knife or something. you could probably chop it into a cube, and that might work a little better. But my experience was pretty awful in that regard. I would let it dry and I would roll it out, to your taste, but it's probably going to be more than you think you need. And as it burns, it gets almost this like charcoal texture. It doesn't burn into a fine ash. It burns almost into like little charcoal corn granules. And I say corn like in the traditional sense, not like the plant corn. But like a kosher salt or something, like little grains. And it doesn't seal well. You pack and pack and pack, and it gets tight and tight and tight, and you can't, like, you almost feel like you're gonna break it to get it in there. And that just wasn't great. It just wasn't a great experience. It was not my favorite thing to do. You could hear it crunching, as I was packing it, and not my favorite experience. But it is redeemable and it is great. I think in my scale, I can't remember, checks notes, like a 6.75, and honestly, that's only marginally better than the 6.5 I gave Brothers in Arms. So to put it into context, I like the flavor of this better than something like Brothers in Arms. I know they're not even in close to the same category, but they're in my rating system right around the same place. They're both better than average. I love the taste of this. I love the smell of this. I hate the experience of smoking it. Brothers in Arms was almost the exact opposite. Great experience, smokes perfect, but I just didn't particularly like the taste of it. So that was my experience. I think this is good. I got it at 6.75. If this came in another format, like just a traditional ribbon or even a plug that I could size myself, this would be awesome. This would be up, 8.5, 9 territory. I think really good in that sense, but I had to knock it, and that was a pretty severe knock because it took me at least 3 tries just to get it somewhere where I could actually smoke it, without incidents or frustration. And you know why we do this. We sit down to relax and kind of cut loose or whatever, and not have to worry about that kind of thing, I guess. So when it does happen, it's just frustrating. It kills the whole mood. And yeah, I like to read and smoke, and if I'm fiddling with my thing the whole time I'm trying to read, it just, I don't know, that's literally what happened, and I think that's why I got so frustrated. But yeah, GLP's Lagonda, this is the first in our series of GLP's Old London set. Yeah, I'm actually really excited about the other ones because everything else I've tried so far has been top tier, like up, debating whether or not I'm going to buy a big tin, an 8-ounce tin or something. So yeah, final words on this, and I will really quickly throw a shout out and a thanks to the Peterson Piper for reminding me in the comments of my last video that pairing is something that I've been thinking about adding to this, and I did not add a pairing note for Brothers in Arms or any of the more recent videos that I've made, and I do want to start doing that. So I've thought really hard about this, and the thing that keeps coming back to me is that lemony, citrusy, honey pop note. I'm gonna run out of lemony, citrusy, honey cocktails to make, but I think really any gin cocktail would be fantastic with this. Anything with that bright, clear, crisp, invigorating kind of flavor is what you're gonna want with this. Something to cut through that smoke and cut through that musk to complement it with a nice, bright, zesty, fresh flavor. And then anything that you can give to it to enhance that lemony honey flavor, I think is golden. And I would have 2 recommendations for this. Everybody loves a last word. If you're a cocktail fan, you know what a last word is. It's one of the most famous pre-prohibition cocktails ever. And you can do just about anything with it. The format of a last word is incredible. So what I want to throw in there then is a cocktail called the Monte Cassino. Not casino, it's Cassino. Yeah, that's the drink that I would throw in with this tin. So, open a tin of this, pack up a bowl of Lagonda, and pour yourself a Monte Cassino. I'm going to create a video shortly after this to complement this video where I'll actually make a Monte Cassino and you can see what's in it. It's rye, Benedictine chartreuse, and I think it's yellow chartreuse actually. And there's got to be one. Oh, lime juice, lemon. It's lemon. Yeah, so those are my final thoughts on Lagonda. So crack yourself a tin, pack yourself a bowl, and pour yourself a Monte Cassino, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, y'all. Be on the lookout for our next video where we make the Monte Cassino. Cheers.